We are live.
Okay, thanks, Mike and LTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for February 23rd, 2021. We have a full agenda as usual. We do have a canceled public hearing, and that canceled public hearing is Fleming Road LLC at Fleming Road. It is at the location is 88 Fleming Road in Montauk, and that is canceled. So we'll move on to our scheduled public hearings. The first applicant is Jordan Daniel, and the lot size and location, 4,042 square feet at 22 Abrahams Path, Olympic Heights Extension, Section 3, Springs, tax map number 300-120-3-9. Description is to construct a 36 square foot bathroom addition on a parcel that already exceeds the maximum allowable building coverage. The relief sought one variance of 255-11-10 of the East Hampton Town Code of 70 square feet is required to allow the increase in building coverage to 878 square feet, where 808 square feet is allowed for a parcel of this size, and any other relief necessary. This is in a B residence zoning district. The flood zone here is X. The secret class is type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We have an affidavit that the mailings were done on the 10th of February and the posting of the property was done on the 10th of February. So the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you, council. Okay, this is in Vice Chair Jolene's Springs District. Roy, go ahead, please, if you would.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, thank you. I visited the site this afternoon. The first photo here is a photo of the residence for the applicant, and you can see the posting on the tree. It's properly posted. So I'm going to take you and I'm going to swing to the left, and you can see the neighboring house. These lots are very small, as you can see. You can tell in the TAM, as the TAM talks about. And now as I turn to the right, you can see the other neighboring house. I'm going to walk in towards the house. It's the expansion, the proposed expansion is the front of the house where you see those two shutters. Small addition forward toward the street. And then I just have one more photo. The previous photo also points out the side yard, and I have a side yard on the other side of the house as well. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, board members? No? Okay. We will go to the applicant or the applicant's agent. And as we do that, who do we have here? Oh, we have the applicant here.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. And would you give us your name? Are you Jordan Daniel?
I'm Jordan Daniel, yeah.
Okay, so we have your name and address. Good evening. If you're not an attorney, Jordan, I have to swear you in, okay?
Okay.
And raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, good evening. So you're the first time we're using, we have these time clocks we're using so we don't get out of hand. So,
sure.
And there's some flexibility there, but basically you being the applicant, you're given 10 minutes to speak and kind of state your case to us, okay?
Sure. Hopefully I don't.
We may jump in and ask questions, and we give you more time if we do, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
First of all, thank you everyone for your time. This is my first time doing anything like this, so it's very nice to meet all of you. I'm here today to propose something very modest. I'm looking to add in a 36 square foot addition in the front, as you saw. I bought the house in 2013, and I was a naive 23-year-old and didn't really know what I was going to do later on in life. So today, I'm here to talk about what I'm hoping to accomplish. So I went through the process a couple of years ago of upgrading my septic system voluntarily. And in doing that, I had to get a new survey. And at that point, I learned that the house was exceeding the coverage that was allowed for the lot. I had no idea, even though I had had a new survey done and a new C of O when I purchased back 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that being said, I looked into the previous ZBA determinations, and as you probably are aware, there's two from 71 and 82. I obviously wasn't the owner at the time, but I can certainly talk about some of the discrepancies that were there. So the one in 71, ZBA permit was issued in order to allow the house to remain 8 feet from the property line. when the required setback was 10 feet at the time. In 71, that project was denied and a modified version of the project was later approved. It determined that their residence could be no larger than 800 square feet. And then I also wanted to add in that property, at the time, the required side yard setbacks were about 6.4 feet as per the town code section 255-143D1. So that basically just says that those previous ZBA determinations would not be required today. Regarding the restriction of the house to only 800 square feet, it appears it was because they had surveyed it and showed it to be only 4,000 square feet. The survey that I recently obtained a few years ago showed it to be 4,042 square feet. It would then increase the maximum lot coverage to a nominal 808 square feet. So last, there's an 82 building permit for 216 square feet. There were old plans that were submitted to the record for the board's review. The old plan submitted to the building department depict the house showing a little bit less than 800 square feet, 798 to be specific. The house that was depicted in the survey, though, is 842 square feet. So I have no idea why the house was built 44 square feet larger than what's depicted on the plans. Could have been a math error, it could have been a contracting error, I have no idea. There's a calculation on the left side of the house that adds up to the 798 square feet, but if you add up the rooms, it shows 846. So rather than boring you with all these calculations, basically, I didn't know any of that when I purchased. So here's where I am today. I'm requesting this modest addition. I'm only doing it for the longevity of the house. As you're more than aware, the housing struggle in East Hampton is a very real thing. And as much as I've tried looking to upgrade to something larger, it's very difficult financially, and there's just such limited inventory that it's basically impossible. So what I'm doing here would exceed the allowable coverage by only 36 square feet from what exists currently and 70 square feet over what's allowed. The bathroom, the way it's proposed, matching the lines of the house, truly wouldn't be noticeable, at least from what I can tell. Most people drive past this house and don't even notice it, so I don't think it would be a huge detriment to the neighboring houses. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, I was looking at the requirements for a variance. Can I accomplish this any other way? I don't think so. The house itself is obviously, you can't go out any other way, can't go down, you can't go up. So the only other option, at least for quality of life, would be to add in this little room in the front to just allow for a little bit more comfort. In comparing it to the other houses, you commented on the small houses nearby down the street in Olympic Heights. They're a true mix. There's some large, some small. There's no really rhyme or reason to it. And I don't really think it would be out of line at all. Again, you wouldn't really notice it from driving by because it would match the lines. And it would be done in, I think, in a really nice way. The driveway itself is almost too large for how small the house is. So I think it could be done really tastefully and wouldn't really be any sort of disruption to the neighboring houses. So that's all I really had to say. I'm happy to answer any questions, but hopefully that all made sense. And looking forward to hearing any comments.
Sure. I'll start off, if I may, Roy. First of all, I have to say, for a person the first time before the zoning board, you did a pretty darn good job stating your case. So good for you for doing your homework.
Thank you. I tried.
Yeah. Can I ask you, I know there's a tree there. Obviously, if this was approved, you'd be moving that tree. Are you planning, would that tree kind of slide out and be between the addition and the street?
Yep, that would be my hope. I would obviously, if there's any sort of landscaping request, I would cater to that, but the tree would be hopefully staying there.
Okay. That's all I have for now. And plus, I have to say it's commendable that you just on your own went out and upgraded your sanitary system. So good for you, because you're not too far from the harbor there. So that was.
I'm not. I really am passionate about the water quality here, and I was actually the first person to apply for it when you could. So I took it very seriously.
Good for you. Good for you. That's all for me. Roy, anyone?
Well, you mentioned trees. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was trying to jump in earlier. You have trees that are going to remain on the 2019 survey with the sanitary system. Is that not true? Did I hear that that's not?
I didn't quite follow. Say that one more time.
Yeah, on the 2019 survey that was done with the septic system, there are no two trees showing on the survey that say they're going to remain. Are those trees remaining?
Believe so. Let me just
Yeah.
double check.
Oh, okay.
Here.
I thought you were talking about a tree that had to move or something.
Yeah, no, I don't plan to take down any trees. I would only move the ones that I had.
Yeah, those little round circles up there that say tree.
Oh, no, that's actually not on my, that little one. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes, that would stay. That for sure.
Okay.
That wouldn't be impacted, I don't think, by this little addition.
Now you're adding a bathroom, and how many
Yes.
bathrooms will that make in the house?
There's only one right now, so this would make 2 total.
How many bedrooms?
2 bedrooms.
Right.
And the septic there is actually for a 5-bedroom house, so
That's
more
correct.
than
Yeah.
capable of handling anything that would be added.
All right, I think you already answered. You're not sure how there became a 30, 35, 36-foot difference in the past. You just inherited that.
Seems like it. It seems like it was more of a measuring error before I bought. It's a very good question.
Okay,
I don't have any further questions.
Okay, let's hear from the planning department. Michael Delalio, thanks for pinch hitting here for Eleni. Are you there, Michael?
No, it's actually me. I'm here.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Eleni. Jeez, I didn't see. I apologize. Nice to see you, Eleni. I'll go ahead and swear you in right away, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thanks, and good evening again.
Thank you. Good evening. I actually don't have too much to say on this application. There are no real environmental constraints on this property. The planning department does not hold a strong opinion on the matter. We just recommend that the board take into consideration the 1971 determination. That's something that they stated, that 800 square feet of building coverage. However, it is a modest addition. It's only 36 square feet. Pretty much it, and just the board to consider whether a parcel of this size is suited for further development. Any questions?
I do not. Board members, any questions? No?
No question.
No,
Okay.
no, but go ahead, Ed.
No, I'm sorry, Roy.
Well,
I have no question. I think that
Just going back to Jordan Daniel, Jordan, if you will, I mean, being that we do have a previous determinations, what is separating this application from those in short?
From the 71 and the 82?
Yeah.
Let me see. From what I can tell, those were done more of a, I guess the 71 at least was more of a side yard setback, and the one in 82 was more for the larger addition. It's not too different, to be perfectly honest, from the 82. I am asking for a little bit more space. I'm being very candid. It's very tough living in a very small house. I'm aware of that when I bought it. I'm hopefully asking for something reasonable, and I'm not trying to offset the character of the neighborhood by any means. But it is, you're right. Had I known this going into it when I bought it, I might have looked at, what I'm proposing a little bit differently. I didn't know that. That's, my own fault. I'm being very honest on that. But no, it's more of a compliment to the 82 permit. It's just something that I would hope for quality of life purposes that would be looked into.
The 82 permit was an addition. Was that the front part of the house?
Yeah, so the 82 converted a portion of the garage that is now my bedroom, actually, and a little bit of the back where there's a shed that was actually added on and merged into the house. So it's very odd, but you step down, and it's an unusual layout, to say the least. But yeah, it was to add on those two to the existing living room, kitchen, and dining area.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Eleni,
Yes.
are the lots on either side of this house, are those about the same lot size, like a little over 4,000?
They're a little bit larger.
A little bit larger.
Up here.
Yeah, the L-shaped one, I think next to me is like a 1/4 acre, and then the one to the left of me is a little bit larger for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, that's about 12,000.
And I can't read that, but
Oh,
are
So it's
those
about 12,000 and about 7,000 square feet.
7,000?
So they're a little larger.
And they're conforming though? From what you can tell.
Mostly there are some nonconformities. This area was developed a long time ago, so there are some nonconformities in the
Right.
area.
Okay.
yeah, it looks like the neighboring house especially is very close, right in the survey up to the property, to Jordan's property line. But anyway, I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any further questions.
Is there anyone in the public, Mike and LTV, anyone there in the public on this?
Yes, Chairman, there are 4 callers on hold. I will unmute the first caller. The last 4 digits are 5928. I'll unmute that caller now.
Oh, I meant to make my announcement earlier. I will do that. My announcement about these calls will.
Hello, caller with the last 4 digits 5928. You're unmuted. Are you there?
I'm calling about the next hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you. One moment. We're moving on to the next caller. The last 4 digits are 3113. Unmuting now.
Yeah. I forgot. I'm going to make my announcement after this about the calling in. I neglected to.
I'm
Hello.
also calling about the next hearing.
Okay. And caller, when you do call back, or when I unmute you, could you please mute the speaker in the background, the feed of our broadcast, as there's an echo, but I'll mute you till the next hearing. And there's one more, Chair, and the last 4 digits of that are 8165. Unmuting now.
Hi, yes, I'm calling about the next hearing as well.
Okay, and there is a new caller. Last 4 digits are 8292. I'll unmute that now. Caller with the last 4 digits 8292. You're live with the ZBA. Are you there? Their line is open and available, but hearing nothing. Maybe they're waiting till the next one.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
mute them now, and you can move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll assume there's no callers on this meeting, and the written record will be held open for many weeks here. So because of the transcript and the required 2 weeks after the transcript is posted on the website. So if anyone is listening and wants to comment, they can certainly do so. Let's see. Roy, would you mind closing us out, please?
Sure will. Therefore, I make a motion to close the public hearing, but keep the record open for 2 weeks after the transcripts are posted on the town website for Jordan Daniel, Suffolk tax map number 300-120-03-09, located at 22 Abraham's Path.
Second.
I concur.
Concur.
And I concur as well. Okay. Thank you, Jordan. And thank you, Lenny, and board members. Okay, we will move on now to our next public hearing. Before I do, I'm going to try to remember to say this every week to the public who's listening and dealing with calling in because of our conditions with the Zoom calls. If you could all please do not call in until we are getting to the end of this hearing. Now, actually, this being the last public hearing of the evening, it's not that important anymore. But in the future, when we have a couple, often we have 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 in a row. So I'll make that announcement next week as well, that we don't want people to call in until their hearing is just about to begin. Or has begun, actually, because there's going to be a lot of time for the field reports and for the planner to speak. So we really don't want them calling in until their hearing is ready to go to the public portion of that hearing. Having said that, we'll move on to our next hearing this evening, which is East Hampton Gerard Point LLC. That is the applicant. The lot size and location, 48,327 square feet total at 22 Shore Road, Montauk on the Sea, Section A, map number 2438, Amagansett, tax map number 300-131-8-7. The description here is to construct a 3,165 square foot, two-story residence with attached garage, retaining walls, 1,397 square feet of decking and covered decking, a 336 square foot swimming pool, a 319 square foot second story veranda, new sanitary system, dry wells, and approximately 1,100 square foot driveway, lower level garage, and to clear approximately 13,676 square feet of the beach vegetation within the town's jurisdiction of dunes and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town Code is required for this application and any other relief necessary. This is in the B Residence Zoning District. Flood zone here is VE 17 flood zone, AE 10 flood zone. And the secret class here is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do have an affidavit of mailing on the 12th of February and a posting on the 12th of February. So it does appear the paperwork is in order. We have been notified that there was a error made in the first name of one of the neighbors on the certified mailing, and that neighbor had difficulty obtaining their copy of the notice from the post office, who would not release the mailing. But we were aware that neighbor did have actual notice, and the applicant's agent was notified and sent a new mailing out to them with the corrected first names on it. So I believe we've addressed any issue with notice and can proceed.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Nancy Lynn. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district. So I will do my third, I think it's my third field report on this property, this application. I was out there today, and you can see that it was very properly noticed. Nothing had blown down, which was great. This shot is is obviously from the street. To the right would be the west, the house to the west, to the existing residence, and this is this beautiful dune here with the natural vegetation here, and to the left you will see you all know is the White Sands motel there. Next, please. I'm not sure who's doing this for me. Is Tyler doing this? Tyler is. I'm sorry. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Here we have a photo, just a closer photo of the house directly to the west of the parcel. From the street, you can see the proximity to the street of that residence. Next, please. This is just looking to the east, and you see that would be right past my car would be the parking lot, and you see a bit of the roof line of the White Sands Motel and some other residences in the background. Next, please. Just a closer shot from the corner of the parking lot, looking east at the hotel and residences. Next, please. Let's see. Now I spun around here like 180 degrees. This is looking to the west and to the sort of the northern side of the street, we'll call it. The northwestern side of the street, I guess it would be. Next, please. Here I've climbed up to the highest point on your survey on that knoll up there. And it's, as you see, it's just spectacular, the indigenous vegetation there. And we're looking at the property, down to the street, obviously, and looking across the street at some of the neighboring houses. Next, please, Tyler. And then I spun 90 degrees, and you can see I'm looking over kind of at the roof lines of the motel to the east. I'm kind of doing a slow clockwise 360 here. Next, please. And you can see the knoll at the very top. Now I've just swung a bit more around. Looks like a Bill King sculpture there, possibly. And that's the wing of the most south and westerly wing of the motel on the left. I'm panning around again, still up on that knoll, and you see how it starts to slope off into a bowl and then to the bluff crest in the distance. Next, please, Tyler. Swinging around again to the, kind of, again, you see the bowl. I'm going over towards the west now, southwest. You get a feel of what's there right now. Next, please. Now I kept swinging around just to the right. I'm standing in the same place for all of these photos, and that's just showing the proximity of the neighboring house to the west. Next, please. And I went down to the bluff crest there. You see, just to get a feel of the sense of the sand and the fencing along there and the edge of the vegetation. Next, please. Now I look back, swing around, about 160 degrees, 50 degrees, whatever, to the east. Again, you're seeing the edge of the motel there and the bluff. Next, please, Tyler. I think I have one more, maybe two. Here I just panned from that spot there, and this is looking back up at the building site from that area. And then maybe, let's see, okay, now I just panned a little more to give the other side of the building, the western side. You see the bowl kind of in there and the neighboring house, and then just one more to give you a sense of that part of the neighborhood from the water side there, what that looks like. I think that's it, Tyler. No, one more, there you go. Beautiful, beautiful land out there. Okay, I think that's it. Board members, any questions? No? I'll take that for a no. Okay, we will move on to the agent the agents for the applicant. I think Anthony and Britton are there.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anthony Pasca, Essex Hefter Angel Italian Pasca, 108 East Main Street, Riverhead, for the applicant, and I'm here with Britton.
Good evening, Anthony. Good evening, Britton. I'll go ahead and swear you in for the night, Britton, if you please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. Nice to see you both.
Thank you. You too.
And just so you know, Tony, you're the first attorney that's going to deal with our fancy timer clocks here. So we'll be a little lenient on big applications. We try to be a little fair, but basically, as you know from your experience, and Britton certainly knows, we give you 10 minutes. And if Britton's like your consultant, she gets a few minutes, and then we also the public will be getting 3 minutes. So there you have it, and go to it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I did try to put a lot of our comments in writing in advance so that it would save a little bit of time on the presentation. I'll try to keep this tight, and we'll deal with questions and comments.
Thank you.
So this application really has been, or this project has been kicking around for the better part of 6 years, since 2016. And there have been so far a total of about 4 basic iterations of the project. The first one being in 2015, which was before either Britton or I were hired. Actually, the first 2 applications that were made were before we were hired. And the first one was made in 2015 for a much bigger project. Scope-wise, it was around 4,300 square feet of floor area. And obviously bigger decks, bigger pool, bigger everything. And the applicants at that time did go through a full hearing process with you. And they withdrew the application before a decision because it was clear that it was going to be denied, and they wanted to take another stab at a reduced version of it. So they did come back to you in 2016 with a new set of plans that were for a reduced size. They thought that they had addressed your main concerns from the 2015 plans. It was reduced to about 3,600 square feet of floor area. The decks were reduced a little bit. The pool was reduced a little bit. But it was still denied in your decision that was dated December 6th of 16. And the applicants did take an Article 78 unsuccessfully. And that was really the point in time where the applicant took a step back from the project and came to me and wanted a fresh perspective on this. And I thought that it was important to get a whole new team together to really give a fresh perspective on it. So we brought in Britton, we brought in Dave Saskis, we brought in a new architect, Nick Vero, who I knew to be someone who has designed a lot of beachfront houses with coastal erosion and FEMA constrained properties. And we put together the first of the two plans that were presented to the town. The first one last year. I'll call that the 2020 plans. And it did address, we thought, we put a lot of thought into, coming up with the reasons why the 2016 application had been denied and what we could do to address those concerns. And so we put together a tighter plan. And that was really a big thing back in both the 15 and 16 plans, was that the design was deemed sprawling. And I understand, I have an understanding of what that means. And it was, I think that design was sprawling in the sense that it was spread out throughout the dune area, the secondary dune areas. And so we wanted to come up with a plan that was tighter, that was really more simply shaped and fit within the pyramid and fit within the confines of both the zoning code, all the setbacks, all the pyramids, all the coastal erosion, dune crest setback and everything. And so that was the 2020 plans that were presented. And we waited for the planning department's memo and we got it. And Tyler had raised several issues and some of which we agreed with and consider legitimate questions. One of them that he picked up on was that we submitted the 2020 plans before we had finalized the revegetation plan and really focused on the extent of the clearing and the revegetation. And so he called us out on that, and he's absolutely right. We'd never intended to have that be our final proposal as far as the vegetation goes, because we were acutely aware that in 2016, the protection of beach vegetation was a priority. So we got Summerhill to put together I would say a robust revegetation plan, which really just means we're revegetating everything other than the footprint for the house, the driveway, and the walkway to the beach and around the side of the house. Everything else is going to be revegetated. The dune from Bluff Crest North is going to be augmented. And we also asked Dave Saskis to really limit the construction clearing area as much as possible. And so he tightened up the construction clearing area. And with the Summerhill revegetation plan, we've got we think we really took care of that issue in terms of trying to be as sensitive as possible to the beach vegetation, knowing, of course, we are proposing a house for the property. We're not hiding that building a house on this property is going to affect the vegetation, but we're doing everything we can to mitigate that through revegetation. We also, Tyler had suggested that we look into moving the house further north. And we were able to do that. We shifted the house north by about 10 feet. And it accomplishes a couple of things. One is it cuts back on the amount of clearing you have to do, and the amount of coverage, because the driveway is a little bit smaller. So the new plan now is as close to the street as we can get without tripping on variance requirements. We would get into a pyramid problem if we get closer. And we also are as close to the street as we can without having to do a retaining wall for the sanitary system. And that was an issue that was raised back in 16 because they were proposing a sanitary system back then with a retaining wall. Our system is going to be an IA system that does not require a retaining wall. So it's got just enough grading to satisfy Suffolk County Health requirements without a retaining wall. There is a retaining wall for the garage and the driveway. And you know, we decided to go in that direction to address the sprawling issue that was raised the last time. And we thought that by putting the garage under the house, it was another way of tightening up the design further. And yes, it's during construction going to require a little bit more excavation in terms of getting that lower garage in. But all in all, it really shrinks the envelope of the building down and eliminates that extra bump out that was proposed previously for the garage. The other thing that Tyler had pointed out was the excavation in the pool and where the pool was being located, and the fact that that was going to cause essentially a cut into the dune. You know, the landward side of the dune was where the pool was being proposed. And so we asked Nick to really take a serious look at getting the pool down in size, for one thing, and also relocating it to an area of lower elevation further north. And so that's the result that you have now, this sort of L-shaped house that puts the deck and the pool almost entirely above the 24-foot contour, which was something that you all had pointed out in your 2016 denial, that was something you wanted to see, the accessory structures north of the 24-foot contour. So by kind of restructuring the house a little bit, he was able to put the pool in about the area of lowest elevation that we could. And he also reduced the depth of the pool. It's basically a 4-foot deep pool in an area of low elevation. So that was one of our goals, and we think we figured out a way to do that and minimize the impact on the dune that way. The deck that you see now is that's the only area on this property that's going to be available for recreational purposes other than the beach. You know, we're not proposing any lawn. We're not proposing any on-site sit-down areas outside of this building envelope. This rectangle, the simple rectangle is it. So we think that we put together a thoughtful application here, and we really did try to address not only the issues that were raised in 2016, but at least as many of the issues that the planners raised in the memo on our first application here, the 2020 plans. And we like to think that we put together a thoughtful application. So I don't know. I went through all the specifications in the memo, so I don't think I'm going to bore you with coverage numbers, but we also did take a lot of time to look at every other residential property on the south side of Shore Road. We wanted to do a little bit of an analysis on the neighborhood characteristics. It's not a variance application. We're not requiring any variances, but I have seen some of your decisions where you do look to the neighborhood characteristics to determine whether a proposal is reasonable or not. And so we wanted to do that. And we put together as much information as we could from the building records and the surveys that we had. Some of the surveys are older and predate, more modern requirements. So we couldn't get every exact lot area for the areas north of the dune crest, but we were able to put together quite a bit of information, and we think that our proposal really fits within the range of the existing characteristics, if not exceeds most of them. And, for that matter, we are at this stage going to be the only property with an IA system, one of only a few that actually is conforming to all zoning requirements. Most of them are non-conforming to either lot width or dune crest setback or something else. And We're going to be fully conforming to the coastal erosion. And yeah, I think we've, I hope you guys have gone through all that data, because honestly, we really did try to put a thoughtful application together here. And our client was open to really anything reasonable that we suggested. Every time we suggested something, do it, just do it. And so we're looking to get past the hump that the prior team was not able to get past.
Okay, Tony, I'm going to jump in. You
Yep.
did a good job of staying pretty close. You just about 12 minutes, so you came close there.
All right.
I will open this up for some questions. I'll start off just a quick one. On the survey, it's quite a large deck area. As I know, your argument there is that it's the only kind of outdoor living space, and I understand you saying that. Just a quick on the survey, you show the proposed 4-foot wide walking path. Now, this is a survey which I'm sure is the most recent. It's dated February 11th, 2021.
Yes.
And then I'm looking on the plans. I'm trying to see, I don't see on the survey, I don't see any steps to the beach or any steps down on these sides. And I'm wondering, is that path intended to go under the deck and pick up again, or what's going on, or they're built-in steps to the deck, or I looked on the south elevations, the plans I have, maybe these aren't the most recent plans. These are dated 7/2/19, received by the ZBA, actually February 17th, 2021. So I'm sure they are. And if I go on the south, if I go onto page excuse me, 04, which is called the rear elevation, I don't see any steps down to the beach, and I have a feeling that's not quite the way the topography's working out there. I don't think that's really been taken into consideration on these drawings. So do you want to speak to that a little bit, or Britton, one of you, on the path issue, and also how you get from the deck to the path and things like that?
And Mr. Chairman, just to go along with that too, I'm struggling with the fact we don't see an east-west elevation. We just see the north-south elevation. In my opinion, the east-west elevation would be the most important elevation to look at as to how this house intersects the dune.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm struggling with that. The only thing we do see is the cut and fill section, but it doesn't really show us, how the deck is related to the dune and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. I'm in a complete agreement. And this record is going to be open, as you know, Britton and Tony, this, until the transcript is posted, until it's 2 weeks after that's been posted on the town website, as you know. So, actually this is, obviously an important application here. And I agree with Roy. I'm going to ask the board to agree with me that we not close the written record and that you submit proper, I'm not saying these drawings are not proper, but updated drawings that both show both the east and the west elevations. And I would like your architect to work with Saskis's topography and depict that properly. So, because we all know what we're looking at here, and we want to see the real picture, and for the public record, we want the public to be able to see the real picture. And maybe, Britton, if you want to address the steps and that sort of thing in that path, I'll give you a chance to do so, or Tony.
Yeah, I would love to just have a moment. I know Tony got time to speak. I just wanted to make a couple comments.
Sure.
And then address your comments.
Sure.
I did want to just note for the record, this is an NRSP only application.
Yeah.
And there are no variances either from your board or the state DEC, because we're completely out of the CHA line, which is unique to this particular rendition of the project. And I also wanted to note for the record that we do have a DEC permit. One of the previous projects had received a DEC permit, so our current DEC permit is actually a modification of a previous decision. And then I also just wanted to highlight that there is a proposed scenic easement as part of this project, which is pretty unique to this area. If you look on the survey, you can see we took a 75-foot swath from the dune, the bluff crest landward, thinking that was a really good mitigation and protection of that sort of critical dune area. As for the 4-foot path, You know, I've had a lot of conversations, and this is maybe just a little background narrative, had a lot of conversations recently about, you know, just the way the planning department and the board is functioning, that a lot of times we're getting these TAMs at the same time that we're getting our hearing notice. And so that's great that we're so on top of getting on hearings, because it wasn't that long ago that it was 6 months before we could get on a hearing. But what that has done is it's really constrained the amount of time that you have to respond to the board with the 10 days prior to the hearing. And especially when the technical analysis in this particular case had some really significant critiquing, let's call it. And so we were, not to say that that's an excuse, but we didn't want to postpone this hearing. And I think that 4-foot path is a good example of, I said, we want to have a 4-foot path. We want to revegetate everything, but we want to be able to at least have a 4-foot path to navigate the property from the driveway to the house and from the house to the beach. And that 4-foot path is pretty much going to be the same square footage of clearing regardless of where it is. So I'm confident on the clearing numbers. We could always, you know, adjust where that path goes. There are no steps onto or off of this deck. It is contained. And that's consistent with the architectural plans.
So let me jump in, Britton, just to answer some of your questions, please. First of all, with regard to the TAM, I'll jump to that and the time, which you make a very good point. We've discussed this at our planning meetings. That the planning department's been working very hard during this Zoom time, and I have to commend them. They're really getting a lot of things out the door. And we as a board have been doing many long hearings, as you know. We're kind of almost getting to a point where we're really kind of catching up on some things. So there is, as you know, as you said, you know, less of a time there between. And we discussed this, and the planners are going to make every effort they can as soon as their TAM has been signed off by Joanne Powell. As soon as it's basically completed, they are going to make an effort. Kyle Vorpal will be our legislative secretary for the ZBA, will be getting these emailed to the applicants and or their agents as soon as possible in the future. Okay, so that will give you as much time to read them between and try to deal with what you can. Let's see. Nonetheless, even though this is an NRSP, we certainly are interested in what the elevations look like for the character of the neighborhood and how it's going to fit into the topography. And you will have time to do that for us. And if I imagine, I'm not sure how I feel about and how the board feels about giving you flexibility to move these paths around. We typically, when there's a path on a survey, that's where the path goes. So if you're dealing with introducing some recessed steps, or you're saying that the sand will be completely up to within one step down, that's fine. But whatever you plan on presenting, this is your chance to update it and give us. I'll let the other board members comment on the path. But
we can make that clear. We'll commit to making sure that as part of whatever written submission we make post-hearing, we'll make it absolutely clear exactly how. If it's a one step down, we'll make that clear. If it requires a step or two, we'll figure out how to make that work within the footprint that we have. We're not going to add anything else. And if we have to make a slight adjustment to the path here or there, we'll do that too. But again, within the same confines of what we have. But I'll commit to you that we'll make that crystal clear in the next submission.
Thank you, Tony. I have one more comment, if I may, board members, and I'll let others speak. But I don't know how the other board members feel, but I think a lot of us are probably pretty concerned. And again, this is only an NRSP, but it happens to be taking place on this spectacular dune. And granted, you've got a house on one side and a motel, and this board takes all of that into consideration. But as far as going off the street, I'm not sure how clear it is. Well, I beg your pardon. You do have the high retaining wall shown on the drawing. So obviously to build that retaining wall and do the footings, we all know you're pretty much going to have to take apart that portion of the dune. I don't think we need an extensive construction protocol, but you've all worked with us long enough where I think it would be good to have something on the record, on the file, as far as a protocol. And you all have done this so much. I imagine you could pull that together for us, because there's a lot of neighbors. There's going to be a lot of concern about this project if it is approved. And if it is approved, we'd like to have a full record and make sure that these things have been addressed And so that we know they will be constructed properly, okay?
That's fair, no problem.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could follow up
Yes,
with
please,
that.
Roy.
And I think that, again, I think our concern is how this dune is going to be protected even during the construction phase. I don't see any construction limiting fences unless I'm missing it. I'm not seeing
It's on red on the survey.
on red.
It's shown as a proposed
Oh,
limit.
there we go. Yep.
Okay,
Tyler is putting his cursor on it. Yep.
okay, there you go. And
I
then-
will add,
and then-
Roy, if I
and
can
then-
interrupt for 1 second, Roy, and then I probably, just before I forget, if you please, Roy, Tony and Britton, could you also ask David, and maybe it's clear here or not, but we're looking on these screens. Well, I have the survey right here. I just want to make sure that we have existing and proposed grade, so that we have an accurate survey that we can all hang our hats on if this thing is approved on what you're going to do with the grade. We know what the existing is. I just want to make sure our proposed grade is clear here, and then we would know exactly how things are working out, okay?
And then what is the proposed deck? It just says a deck. We don't know what that is. Right? Is it a wood deck? Is it concrete? What is it? I think that should be identified.
A deck by town code definition has to be made out of wood. If it was concrete, it would be a patio,
I agree.
masonry.
I just want that clarified.
Yeah, you're going to be updating the drawings anyway, so you could.
But we can put wood deck. And in terms of proposed grades, the intention is we don't have any grading relating to the septic system. We provided the cut and fill. That's not really grading. We're not proposing to change any of the natural topography. That's why there's no proposed grading.
All right, so at the end of the day, you want this to be exactly the way it is, as if you've just dropped this house in there, right?
Mhm.
Right.
So
And
what's
if you look at SO1,
Yep. Yes.
that shows the grading as it relates to the structures, bottom left, in addition to fill.
Yeah, so that'll get picked up on your elevations. And I'm just saying, what remind me, your proposed finished floor is at elevation 21, right?
Right.
Correct.
So if it's at 21 and you go out to the deck, you might step down an inch or two. So let's assume you're roughly going to be at 21. Is that correct, your deck height? So then the natural grade is, I see natural grade right nearby at 26. The 26-foot line comes in and wraps around to the south of the deck, the existing 26-foot elevation, and the 24-foot elevation. So there's something not correct there. Or is that 21 foot not correct? It says proposed single floor dwelling, finished floor elevation 21 feet. So
Which drawing are you looking at?
I'm
John?
looking at your survey.
Herman?
I'm looking at the survey, Britton. And I'm looking at the finished floor notation, and I'm looking at the existing. You're saying no grade is going to change, but you've got that 26-foot knoll on the southwest side of the house. You see the 26-foot knoll, the 27.1 spot elevation marker, and then you see where the 24-foot is coming through. So you're going to have to look into this a little bit. I have a feeling you're going to have to do some sort of grade adjustment there, because you're not going to have 4 feet of sand in front of your dune or whatever, in front of your deck, I don't think.
Well, that's what it's showing on the cut and fill. It's showing that, John.
Yeah, that's what. We can definitely clarify that, but the intent is
Well,
to.
actually, okay, I beg your pardon, Roy. I beg your pardon. I did not look at that closely enough.
Yeah.
If you plan on, I'm all for leaving, so I'll leave it to you. If you plan on doing that and that shows up on all of your diagrams and the architectural plans and the survey, that's great. That's great. Okay, so we just want to make sure it's accurate and realistic.
Just as a design intent, that was the intent, was to leave the existing topography and stay away from that contour that had been, in the previous reiteration of the project. And was to leave it as is. I don't think we could make an argument, and I don't think that proposed grading is anything we want to do, and specifically relating to the septic or the house. That's why we sort of showed how the house would sit in this dune. Or in this property.
Okay, so hopefully your architect can kind of elaborate on this and make it a little more clear, and basically use the survey and his cut and fill and drop in the elevations, and then we'll have what we need, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along here. Let's go.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry, I beg your
yeah,
pardon.
I
Board
do have a
Member.
comment. It just seems to me
Yeah.
that it may not be as sprawling, but it does seem to me like there's still some room for improvement perhaps on tightening up this whole thing. You do have a relatively large deck there. The proposed pool, I'm not sure if you changed the dimensions. I know you changed the depth of it. And
It's smaller. It is smaller.
two-car garage. The size of that is all in your document? It may have been in there. I know.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and the pool has shrunk on every iteration in area as well as in the last one in depth as well.
Okay.
And just to highlight the deck area, I keep saying that the deck is large. That's the only outdoor space on this property that's intended for living. There's no outbuildings, there's no patios, there's no other, everything's gonna be revegetated up to the structure. We felt that was more in keeping with the NRSP standards than proposing additional ground area patios or what have you.
Okay, board members, any other questions?
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Go
go ahead, please.
Tim, go ahead. I think Tim jumped in first. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask the applicants to address the 24-foot contour line here and the plans specific to it. As I read the TAM, and then I went back and read the prior determination, within the prior determination in several places, there were very specific indications that suggested that the next application, if you will, should be north of that line. The applicant continues to use the words almost all. To me, it's either it's above the line or it's not above the line. And in this case, a portion of the deck and then a pretty significant portion of the home is beyond that 24-foot contour line, if I'm reading the survey correctly. So I just wanted a little more information on that, please.
Yeah, sure. It's all right. So the 24-foot contour line has been a design issue for us to try to satisfy that. There were two different ways of describing it. One is in the TAM and one is in the zoning board's decision. So when I read the zoning board's decision, the focus in 2016 from the zoning board's perspective was to get the accessory structures north of the 24-foot contour. And there was a point in the decision that I actually thought was interesting. I had to reread it about 2 or 3 times to understand it, but the board made a comment that even if some of the house required some excavation, that was preferable because it would confine it to a certain location. But the board was very clear that it wanted to get the accessory structures north of the 24-foot contour. You're right that the TAM just says generically get all the structures, or the planning department recommended getting all the structures north of the 24-foot contour. It just proved, because of the way the contour on the west side wraps up around the house, it made it impossible for us to design a house that didn't require front yard variances and didn't touch the 24-foot contour. So what we tried to focus on in the last version of this was to at least satisfy the zoning board suggestion from 2016 to get the accessory structures, really that entire deck, and maybe more critically the pool, because that's the part of the accessory structure that requires some digging, get that as far out of the 24-foot contour as possible. And it's true that there's a corner, southeast corner of the deck that cuts just over the 24-foot contour, and a small portion of the southwest corner of the deck that touches into it. But that's why I said we're almost out of it. I'm not. I hope you don't think that we've been misrepresenting that we were able to get the entire structure out of the 24-foot contour. But we've done our best to get as close to that as possible with the accessory structures.
I guess I read it that the primary concern was that secondary dune and trying to minimize the amount of eating into that dune that would occur. So my point is simply that this does not accomplish that.
Also, Britton and Anthony, could you have your architect, when he is or she is submitting, it's a he, I guess, Nicholas is submitting these again, to turn back on like the dimensions? I noticed the floor plans is no dimensions anywhere. It's typically we have dimensions, so we kind of get a sense of the scale of the building. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, Ed?
Yeah, the footprint itself could be tightened up a bit more. Might help with that also.
I think to Tim's point, it looks like most of the great room is seaward of the the square footage of the great room is seaward of the 24-foot line. But anyway, you've addressed that. Ed, you wanted to ask something, Ed Johan?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I think I was out at the site as well today, and I think this is the geography of this site is particularly challenging. When you stand at the street, you're looking at this secondary dune that towers over the street, and we can see that just the basic construction to try to get this house built is going to take some effort. And I noticed that we got two sets of drawings issued to us. One was of the earlier house in the 2016 application, and we can see how the new approach by the applicant shows us a smaller house. But unfortunately, with the newer prints, I don't see any kind of structural notation. And on A2 of the older prints, I see a piling plan. The piling plan there, I'm counting 53 piles or so, driven piles. When you go to the site, one of the things you've got to ask yourself is just how is this going to be accomplished? Now, I understand the equipment can be brought into that place, but we're talking about a significant amount of movement and damage to that area and that dune. Now, we're going to have a house under construction. There's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of damage, a lot of cut and fill. I get that. But I don't see anything indicating exactly what's going to go on with the new iteration here in terms of pilings. It's not their exact location I'm worried about. I'm just asking myself, if we're going to drive 53 pilings in this location, and we see how constrained the site is, and we see how sensitive the site is, how are we going to do that? Now, I know what the physical act will be of driving those piles, but I do think it raises a certain amount of concern for what it does collaterally to neighbors, and also whether or not these are going to be functioning the way in which we hope to have them function. The pool, for example, is going to take 18 or 20 pilings on its own. And then, of course, the deck and everything else will be floating on these pilings. So anyway, I'm just making the point that I spent some time looking through the details, structural details as I could find them on the drawings. It's the 2016 drawings that are more complete in terms of describing exactly what some of the walls will look like underneath the building to enclose this garage. Understanding how the garage sits now in the proposal is quite a bit different than looking at what was proposed here on the section with the old piling. So following up on what both the chair and vice chair said, I really think that some clarification or some additional drawings would be useful for us when we're making our determination. I've got to say that of all the issues here, and I'm agreeing with Board Member Brenneman, that we have to be very concerned about exactly what we're doing with our 24-foot contour line. But I'm concerned with the garage and its appropriateness and whether or not the site can really afford it. I know the client would like it. It's the 6-foot retaining walls, the amount of damage into the amount of depth that we have to dig into the dune. All of these are concerning to me. I would really like to know a little bit more about the structure of it and a little more about the architecture before I'm going to make a firm decision on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ed. I'm just going to, Ed, Britton, before you answer that, I just want to piggyback an exclamation point on what Ed just said, because again, I'm looking through the set again here, and as Ed said, I think we certainly do need not only a piling plan, we want that, we need that. to consider this. And we also should make sure it's very clear what the basement plan is. There is no basement plan. We know that you're proposing a garage. We should have a full set of floor plans of every floor of this building. And as well I mentioned the construction protocol, but we certainly want you to, within that protocol, deal with exactly what Ed was saying, because I agree, to drive the piling and to excavate for that garage under the house and the retaining wall and the footings for the retaining wall, we should have a serious construction protocol that is going to be realistic, so that we know it can be realistically done and what that will entail. Okay. So if you could include that in your list as well. And thank you, Ed, for your comments there. Board members, before we go into the planning department, Britton, I'll let you comment briefly, and then we got to.
I just want to make one very brief comment, just because it's a construction notation, and I know the board knows it, but maybe for the public audience, pilings are not an option on this particular property. They're mandated by the FEMA flood zone that we're in. So we'd be happy to address the configuration of them and also address their installation in our construction protocol.
Okay, thank you, Britton. Board members, any more questions? No?
No.
Okay, let's go on to the planning department. Good evening, Tyler.
Good evening, board. Tyler Borsak for the planning department.
I will, let's see, I don't know if your video is on. Because you have the screen. Thank you, Tyler. Tyler, I'll swear you in if you please.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. Go ahead, please.
Sure. So the applicant's before the board for approval to construct a 2,988 square foot two-story residence with decking, swimming pool, driveway, basement level garage, and a sanitary system. The lot is located between single-family residences to the west and the White Sands Resort Hotel to the east. A large secondary dune extends up to 27 feet in the middle of the property, with the road at approximately an elevation of 8 feet. Excuse me. So there's a lot of elevation change, especially on the north side of this property. The parcel is relatively undisturbed, oceanfront dune land with well-established beach vegetation throughout the building envelope. The land use regulations governing this parcel have been in place for over 30 years. They include a 100-foot primary dune crest setback, and the property being located within a VE velocity flood zone, as per the FEMA maps. This individual parcel has appeared before the ZBA twice in recent years, in 2015 and 16, as was already discussed. The 2015 application was withdrawn prior to a decision being made, and then the 2016 application was denied by the zoning board. The 2016 denial of the application, the board was clear that they felt the proposed project would diminish and degrade the quality of the dunes and beach vegetation on the property. The board was concerned with the sprawling nature of the design, the amount of disturbance required, and the change in the character of the neighborhood from the amount of clearing, disturbance, and the size of the improvements. The board suggested a smaller footprint and limited accessory structures would be the best way to achieve the goals of minimizing the impacts identified during that determination. Since the original the technical analysis memo was written for this application, the applicants have obviously come back with a new design, which took into consideration several of the planning department's suggestions. The applicants have shrunk the footprint slightly, reduced the coverages, the clearing numbers, both during construction and the final limits of clearing. And they have also shifted the residence closer to the road. Previously, it was pretty much right up against the CHA line. So obviously they've shifted it back a number of feet, away, further back on the property. The applicants appear to have not eliminated the use of the retaining walls to access the basement level garage in the house, which requires excavation of approximately 133 cubic yards of sand, according to the most recent submission. This was something that was brought up by the planning department, questioning whether it was an appropriate use of the property, having a lower level garage, which would require all that excavation. A total of approximately 286 cubic yards of sand was shown to be excavated for the entire construction process. Additionally, a small portion of the house and decking does still extend fairly far into the parcel, up the secondary dune past the 27-foot peak, which was identified and discussed already. So I don't need to dwell on that too much, but that was another thing that was pointed out, that attempting to at least construct the residence as much landward of that 24-foot contour is what we would suggest. I have additional image for the board. I did a geo-reference of the survey over on top of our GIS program. It's not perfect. You can see that it's showing the edge of the road up here, and obviously the edge of the road is here in the actual photo. So it's not a perfect, but it gives you a representation of where the property will lie compared to the neighbor next door. If you're curious as to how they'll line up. So in reality, it probably will be a little bit further south as far as the picture is concerned underneath. But it gives you a good idea. And just to give you a little bit of information to go over the numbers, the gross floor area of the house throughout the years has been reduced. Originally in 2015 it was 4,300 square feet approximately. Then 2016 was 3,602, and now it's down to 2,988. Coverage from 2016 was 13%, and now it's at 10.29%, so roughly 2.5% difference. Total lot coverage is similar, about 2.5% reduction from 22.31 to 19.69. And clearing has been reduced. The 2016 application showed 11,900 square feet of clearing. They're now showing 9,839 square feet for construction, and then a little over 5,000 square feet after revegetation around the residence is completed. The board should examine this application in light of the previous denial and determine if enough changes have taken place which address the board's previous concerns, or if more work needs to be done in order to better meet the NRSP and the general standards of the town code. I know you had discussed measuring things on the building plans. I could certainly bring up the building plans and measure something if you had something you wanted, or if it was just.
I think I'd like to see them. Thanks, Tyler. I think it would just be good to have that included
Sure.
in the updated set.
Not a problem. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Any questions, board members? No? Okay, then let's hear from the public. LTV, do we have people in the public there?
Yes, we do. We have a few callers on hold. I'll unmute the first caller. The last four digits are 5928. I'll unmute that now.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Okay.
Give
hi,
us your name and address, please.
Yes, Brian Matthews, Kirsten Cooley, 241 Pantago Road, East Hampton, New York, 11937. Here on behalf of a number of the adjacent neighbors, Carol and Hank Herman, Daniel and Maureen Stinsky, David Sonnenberg, John Wadaker, and Malcolm Carfrey.
Okay, good evening, Brian. Go ahead, please.
Yes, and I'll be very brief. I know that there's time constraints, and a lot of these topics have been covered already, and there's going to be additional submissions as well. I just want to note that we submitted a brief letter late this afternoon. Our office was just formally retained yesterday, really, so we turned around our review of that as quick as possible. And really, the main point that it seems to be shared by the board is that our client's concern relates to the impact of the dune, and this is something that they wanted to be clear about. This is their only concern, and they're not in any way looking to prohibit the development of this lot. It's only about the impact of the dune, and I believe some of our clients are on the phone at the moment, and they can address specifically the issues that they've been presented with respect to flooding and everything else in that regard. And so, as it relates to this project, while it's an improvement certainly over the prior iterations, the 2015, the 2016, that were sprawling and probably way too ambitious for this lot. The concern here is that this project, even as proposed and even as scaled back, still calls for excavating the dune as we've gone through for the garage, for the deck, and the pool. And this is what has them concerned. And as we stated in our letter today, we believe that there's probably, maybe a little bit of a modified approach that would be able to allow the applicant to have a nice residence, to have some of these accessory structures and some of these amenities, while still while eliminating or at least significantly reducing the need to excavate into the dune and to need to have this proposed house and these proposed structures still kind of at the max elevation of 27 feet that are really at the top of this dune. And, you know, one of the things that we had looked at and talked about was, you know, the ability to shift, the potential ability to shift the house. One, it can go shift to the east a little bit. You still have, you know, I think 6 feet on the east side of that property, and shift it, you know, to the east and to the north. Now, I know that Tony and Britton, they talked about that, you know, they're as close to, they've shifted it as far north as they can without the need for a retaining wall for the septic. But I guess that kind of begs the question, you know, if they're proposing a retaining wall for this garage, but what would be the preferable method of construction here? Is a retaining wall preferable for the septic, or is it preferable to have the house pushed seaward forward and call for the excavation of the dune? You know, one of the other possibilities that we talked about internally was, if you shift it, if you don't want to do the retaining wall, is there a possibility to shift that septic, you know, once you move the house to the east a little bit and move it to the north a little bit, to move that septic onto the west side of the property? You know, while that would obviously require some kind of excavation for the septic, we think it's a little bit less invasive for a septic that's ultimately going to be covered up with sand and vegetated, versus excavating into the dune for the house and the deck and the pool, and then having that structure on top. One of the other, you know, possible alternatives
Just to give you a
is,
heads up.
you know,
Hey, Brian, just so you know, you've gone over your 3 minutes, so try to wrap it up, please, okay?
I'm going to be just another minute tops. One of the other alternatives that, you know, they wanted to explore was that while the building area, is more condensed, it has been, and the applicants, you know, and their team should be applauded for doing that. Right now, it's somewhat of a narrow house that goes deeper into the dune, and perhaps an alternative design where, you know, the setbacks from the side yard were maximized a little bit more. It would allow, you know, still for a nice house with a nice footprint and some of these amenities, but it was a little bit shallower. It would allow it to get off that 26 and even maybe off that 24-foot contour. So those are the concerns that our clients wanted to address. They're addressed in our letter. They'll certainly, you know, look forward to looking at the amended, you know, or additional plans that the applicant submits and be able to review them further. But those are the concerns that our clients wanted to certainly address to the applicant and to the board at this initial hearing. If there are any questions for me, I'm happy to answer to them. Other than that, you know, we'll look forward. We have our letter, we have our testimony here, and we look forward to whatever else is being submitted, and we can, you know, respond accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brian. We gave you a little extra time because I know you're representing a few neighbors, so that's fine. Let's see, who else? Thank you again, Brian, for participating. LTV, do we have another caller?
Yes, we do, Chair. We have about 4 other callers on hold. The next caller's last 4 digits are 3113. I'll unmute that now.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone. My name is John Wadaker, and I am the homeowner at number 10 on Shore Road, just 2 lots to the west of the property in question. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight and kind of get a little bit more.
Hold on here, please. Hold on, John. I believe we met on the street today. Nice that you called in.
Yes.
You're 2 houses away. I mean, you're not the house to the west, but you're just past that, correct?
I'm not immediately to the west. I'm 2 lots to the west. So,
right, exactly. So, are you an attorney?
Number 16 is.
John, hold on,
Sorry.
please. The reason I interrupted you is if you're not an attorney, I have to swear you in. Are you an attorney?
Oh, sure. I am
You're not an attorney. Okay. Do you swear? Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Continue, please. So we give you about 3 minutes. Okay, John, go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. I'll be very quick. Well, one of my concerns that I think needs to be addressed in the immediate proximity of the lot on Shore Road, during and following any precipitation event, much less a tropical circumstance of any kind. In its worst case scenario, there is pretty severe flooding at the street right in front of the lot. And I genuinely think that that's something that needs to be addressed and looked at by the applicant.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, John. Thank you. LTV, next caller, please.
Sure. The next caller's last four digits are 5165. I'll unmute that right now.
Thank you.
I apologize. That's 8165. Unmuting now.
Good evening. Hello? Hello, anyone there?
Hello, caller with the last four digits 8165. Are you there?
Hi, this is Carol Herman. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Carol, first
Hello?
I will ask you, we can
Yeah,
hear
let
you.
me leave the room because I'm 8165. That's me. It's Carol Herman.
Okay, and we need your address, and then I need to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
Yes, I am not an attorney. I'm at 16 Shore Road. I am the next door neighbor house to the west of 22.
Okay, let me, if you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for hearing me. I know we're all saying the same thing, but we're a really very close-knit, modest neighborhood of people who have no objection to a new neighbor, quite honestly, or someone building next to us. What we are laser focused on and have been from the beginning is any, we'll call it frivolous or unnecessary excavation of the dune. And I refer to what we call the secondary dune, even though I know there's no such thing, but that big mountain that is really right outside our living room window, which we look at and is really quite close to our house. And I guess our concern is, again, the footprint. We were under the impression that a house could be built northward of the dune. So as we've discussed quite a bit, I know it would be nice to have a pool, although I don't really think anybody in our neighborhood has a pool. And I don't really think anybody has a patio or all these extra accessories that we're discussing. I think what's important to us is that a house is built with true, honest, appreciation of that dune and that indigenous vegetation. We're just concerned about the safety of the neighborhood. So I just wanted to make that point. Again, we are not objecting to someone building a house, but we would really appreciate kind of more of a look at getting closer to the street and a footprint that maybe makes an even 15 or 1,400 square foot bottom and one right on top of it, so that the house could be more rectangular in our minds and hopefully then accommodate everything. So thank you for hearing me out.
Okay, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. LTV, next caller, please.
Yes, Chair. The next caller's last four digits are 8292. I'll unmute that caller now. Hello, caller. Last four digits 8292. You're unmuted. Are you there? Hearing nothing, Chair. Would you like me to move on to the next caller?
Yes, please do.
The next caller's last four digits are 5578. I'll unmute that now. Hello, caller. The last four digits 5578. You're live with the ZBA. Are you there?
Okay, some people may just be listening and put their phone down. Next caller, please, Mike.
There's one other line. The last four digits are 3072. I'll unmute that now.
Thank you.
Yes, hello.
Yes,
Hi.
we can hear you. Good evening. Could you give us your name and address? And if you're not an attorney, I will have to swear you in, okay?
Sure. My name is David Sonnenberg. I'm at 2 Shore Road, and I am an attorney. I'm not practicing, but I'm happy to be sworn in also if you'd like.
No, I think that's fine, counsel.
It's fine. I believe he needs to mute his,
You need to mute your TV, maybe. Is it David Sonnenberg?
Yes, we're muting the TV.
Thank you.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead, please. Oh, can you let us know first? Pardon me. It's helpful if you let us know which number 2, where that is in relationship to this house, please.
I am 3 houses away. I'm the first house on the corner, 2 Shore Road. So it's the first house, and then there are 2 houses between me and the current property that you're discussing.
So you're by Marlin. You're you're west of this, by Marlin and Shore?
I'm on the corner of Marlin and Shaw on the ocean, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
So, this is a very fragile area, as we all know, and the applicant has basically been saying that this is the 4th or 5th iteration of this house, and each iteration has gotten smaller, suggesting that they've made every effort to do something that we could approve and feel good about. But unfortunately, no element of the original plan has been eliminated. They're still proposing a large house with a large deck, a 2-car garage, and a swimming pool. And truthfully, this property really requires a much more modest house. The current width and length of the house, at least to my eye, is really at a maximum, not at a minimum, in terms of its width and its length, which is why it's going past that 24-foot section that you had talked about earlier. It really doesn't show any sensitivity, in my view, to the impact that this will have on the secondary dune and on this neighborhood in general. If they would eliminate the pool, they could have a lovely house on the ocean, to feel like we need the deck to get outside. You go out on the sand, it's beautiful. They could have a deck, but the way they've laid it out, it just makes it very invasive to the dune and the vegetation that currently exists. And I think that this secondary dune really needs to be respected and protected. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much for participating. We appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you for your concerns.
You're welcome. LTV, do we have any other callers?
No, we do not. Just those 2 other callers that were not there when I went to them. If you want me to go back, otherwise there are no new callers.
No, I think, yeah, we don't have to keep going back. And again, the record's open. They can always submit things, to the public record.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, Tony and Britton, we're clearly right that you're going to be making some resubmissions or some additions to your submissions, correct?
Yes, we will. And if I could just have 60 seconds to respond to one point.
Yeah, go ahead. Wrap it up. Go ahead. Yeah.
One of the neighbors mentioned that nobody in this neighborhood has these kinds of accessory structures. And one of the things that we included in our neighborhood analysis was based off of the COs, what accessory structures everybody has. And, just going through the list, the last speaker, the CO says they have a garage, a 588 square foot pool, a 200 square foot pool house, and a 348 square foot artist studio, plus 1,000 feet of decking. 10 Shore Road also spoke today. There's decking, storage, a pool, and a hot tub, and a greenhouse. There's another property at 78 Shore that has decking, a garage, and a hot tub. And 90 Shore has a hot tub and a stone patio, plus 1,160 square feet of decking. So it's not, I don't think it's a fair thing to say that this is a neighborhood where nobody's got pools, nobody's got accessory structures. Most of these were built pre-existing non-conforming, but some of them were approved. And I think you should take a look at that. What we are proposing is the smallest pool of anybody who's got pools. And I think it is, we are trying to be sensitive to the construction, but we're going to look at everything everybody mentioned today and see if we can come up with some ways of addressing these concerns. And certainly we will respond to the request for more information that the board made earlier.
Well, thank you, Tony, and Britton, thank you. I will say this, you are updating the plans and the survey and this and that. And so there certainly is a chance here, if you and the clients feel so compelled to take a look at the plans and the decking and perhaps diminish something here or there. It can only help your application, but this is your application. So that's your call. But you will, and if you do find that you need more time for some reason, you can always contact us, and I'm sure this board would give you more time. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We might take you up on that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anything else, board members? No? Okay. I'll close it out then. So with regard to the application of East Hampton Gerard Point LLC at 22 Shore Road, Montauk, tax map number 300, Montauk on the Sea, in Amagansett, tax map 300-131-08-7. I make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing and to leave the written record open until 2 weeks after the transcript is published on the town's website.
Second.
I'll
Concur.
concur.
I concur.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you, board, and thank you, Tyler, for your work on this.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move along next to our work session. Let's see, we have, I believe the first thing we have, council, is the letter we received from 133 Mulford LLC at 51 East Lake Drive in Montauk, tax map number 300-20-2-16. And
We
Terry
have,
was, go ahead,
actually,
council.
it was on to consider for an extension of time. The letter, it was already on the agenda for consideration for an extension of time. We've since received a letter that they're withdrawing their request for an extension of time, allowing for the approval to become null and void just by operation of it not being renewed.
Thank you, Nancy Lynn. And we have discussed this, and board members, I believe you all had a chance to look at the letter that came in. I think it was Mark Catalano. I have it here. The planning department will be reviewing and working with the applicant a revegetation plan and dealing with whatever else needs to be dealt with that was done without the proper permit work in place to do that work. But as Nancy Lynn and council stated, they do not intend on doing any of the work that was in the determination. So right now, this will be in the hands of the planning department from here on out, unless there's some issue, correct, council, that they need us to address.
Yes, as not once the approval has expired, it's no longer under the jurisdiction of the board.
Right. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
When is this determination expired? Just
It expired previously, I believe. Elena may have that. It was an extension that had come in and to be renewed, and it had expired, I believe, at the time that they put in the request.
Yeah, I have it here. Let me bring it up. I can tell you exactly when it expired.
Oh, that's good.
We're talking about this last request. Was this the first extension of time, Eleni?
It was, the approval was from 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, November 16th, 2016. So this would have been.
Second.
It would have expired in 2019.
Yes,
So
I
they
think- I
may have
believe
had
that's
one from 2019 until 2020, I believe, but then they put in a new request, and that.
So they're withdrawing that, so the determination is null and void then. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Nancy Lynn. Thank you, Eleni.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, please do. Go ahead, please.
I'm interested, I understand from council that it's no longer in our jurisdiction to do anything about the property, but this disturbance that's happened there while they had an NRSP permission to move forward has not been rectified. Now, the
Right.
replanting is one thing, but we still have water running down into wetlands. And what's the mechanism by which is the planning department going to go out and insist that we do something about creating a fence there? And rather than 4 months from now, when we get a revegetation plan, is that going to happen quickly?
Well, you aren't going to get a revegetation plan.
Okay.
It's all going to be the planning department. The planning department will address whatever issues that they find on the property of basically restoring it back to whatever state it should be in without these approvals. And whether that's, that's an issue of just remediating the clearing, or if there has been a change to the topography or the like, and they will work with the applicant, the homeowner, property owner, to remediate that. If they don't remediate that, then the planning department, certainly it's within their purview to refer it to code enforcement for having made changes without proper approvals.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed, for that. And thanks, Nancy Lynn. Yeah, I was going to note.
Again, this applicant cannot move forward with their project.
No, their project it cannot move forward. They have not extended their approval, and so the approval now is null and void.
Right. And again, if it's not done properly, the re-veg, if there's any issues, it becomes a code enforcement. But we're looking for positive results here, and they seem like they are going to be working with the planning department. So thank you, Ed and Nancy Lynn and Terry. We'll move on here now. We have next, let's see, we have minutes. I guess we have, I've read the minutes for February 9th, 2021. They looked in order to me. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the East Hampton ZBA dated February 9th as written.
Second.
I'll concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Okay, next we'll move on to resolutions. We'll start off with Louise Fisher and Philip Bruno. This goes back to November 17th, hearing date 2020. And
this is member Johann's.
Yeah, and if you want to just pick this up, that would be great, please. Thank you, Nancy.
Fine. You remember this was a unanimous decision by the board to approve 3 portions of the applicant's request to install a driveway gate, pillars and gate, the driveway, 2 pillars at the driveway entry and a gateway, 3 additional square feet to the eastern pool enclosure, and 20 square feet to the grill. That was all within our jurisdiction to deny. We had no problem with that, but the request to allow and construct 945 lineal feet of fencing was denied unanimously by the board. So I make a motion to approve the resolution as written for the applicants Louise Fisher and Philip Bruno, 116 Old Westlake Drive, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-20-5-9.
Second.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ed. The next one, I'm recused from this application. I'm just going to leave the meeting for a minute while you all go over this. 80 Firestone. Roy, if you take over the meeting.
Sure will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have the resolution of 80 Firestone Road LLC at 80 Firestone Road, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-17-01-05. And I think Member Berger, do you want to, I think this was yours, right?
Yeah, and I'm looking for it in my email. Yeah. Well, you recall this one. This is for a variance for some resort units to be approved to be not connected to each other per the town code for transient motel units. And in addition to that, to create a stairway from the top of the bluff on the property down to the beach. This was also, well, unanimous for the 4 members that were voting. We voted to approve it. And now what I'm missing, though, is the tax map number again. I got 300-17.
dash one dash five.
1-5. So in the matter of 80 Firestone LLC, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written for tax map 300-17-1-5 at 80 Firestone Road in Montauk.
I'll second that.
Concur.
I concur. Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you all. We'll move on now. Next, we have Marcello Rubinski and Gabrielle Grimstein at 54 Bucks Path in East Hampton, tax map number 300-118-1-24.15. And this is in Board Member Brenneman's district. Tim, if you would, please.
Sure. Board members, you'll remember this was a very small variance related to a decking and patio on the back of the property around the pool. We were unanimous in approving this. There were trees planted on the applicant's property. There's a covenant and restriction agreement to maintain that screening. And then behind that property, there was a reserve area, and the closest structure to the back of the property was a tennis court. So really modest variances, and we were unanimous in our approval. So in the matter of Marcello Rubinski and Gabrielle Grimstein at 54 Bucks Path, East Hampton, Suffolk County, tax map number 300-118-1-24.15, I make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Next, we have Adam Rosen at 24 Elway Brook Road, East Hampton, New York. East Hampton, tax map number 300-73-1-20.1. And once again, Tim, if you would, please.
Sure. And board members, you'll recall that this application also related to a swimming pool patio. The difference here is that the variance requests were substantial as respects to the side yard property. In addition, we heard from the neighbor concerns about noise. And as a result of all of that, we were unanimous in our denial of the application. And so in the matter of Adam Rosen, 24 Elway Brook Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County, tax map number 300-73-1-20.1, I make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second.
Concur.
I'll concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Okay, next we have Eric Huang and Tanya Norwood at 38 Harding Road in Montauk, tax map number 300-68-4-3.1. Ed, I believe this is you?
No, this is Terry.
Oh, Terry. Sorry, Terry. My apologies.
All right, this is at 38 Harding Road in Montauk. If you recall, this was an application to create a parking area and driveway at a location in Montauk, 38 Harding Road. And if you recall, the variance was required for a retaining wall to sustain that parking area. Originally, the applicant did agree over the suggestion of member Johan to shorten the parking area to accommodate 3 cars. This was a unanimous decision by the board. It looked like they were very carefully laid out to avoid taking down trees and preserve all the natural resources. And the water runoff from the parking area will not run toward the wetlands. It will go down toward the runoff to the street. So this was a unanimous approval. So in the matter of Eric Huang and Tanya Norwood at 38 Harding Road in Montauk, tax map 300-68-04-3.1, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Terry. I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda. Council, any business?
I think that's everything.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all, and thank you to the department, LTV, and Kyle, all of you and board members. Vice Chair, can we get a motion from you? I think that would be nice.
Sure, and in light of the last few meetings we have, this is a refreshing motion. I make a motion to close the public hearing of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, February 23rd, at 8:15 p.m.
Second.
Who got it? Second.
That's it. They always say that. Concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you all. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Night,
Thank
everyone.
you.